The stars were quiet that night, above a broken ridge, where a silver field met the edge of the desert. A young alien fox girl sat. Her name was Lyra. Her fur caught the light of 2 moons. Her ears twitched at every sound, but the wind carried only the soft hum of silence. She held a small pendant in her hand, made of dull metal shaped like a tear. It was old, scratched, and worn by time. It was the last thing he had given her before he left the human who had promised to return. His name was Sam. He came from Earth, from a ship that had crashed years ago. The wreck still rested beyond the dunes half. Buried in the sand, Lyra had found him hurt, and alone she had nursed him in her hidden word. Cave far from the sight of her own kind, her people feared. Humans, they said. Humans brought fire and change, but she had seen something else. She had seen kindness. She had seen warmth. Sam had stayed for many days. They had shared food, laughter, and stories of the stars. She had never seen Earth, but she loved the way he spoke about blue skies and green trees. His eyes would glow when he told her about rain. She would close her eyes and try to imagine what it felt like. Drops of water falling from the sky. Cold and soft. She had only known dry winds. An endless dust wand. His wounds healed. He built small machines from the wreck pieces. They blinked and whirred and made soft lights at night. He said he was building a beacon to call his people one day. He told her he might have to go home. She had smiled. Then, pretending she was happy, she had said she understood, but that night when he slept, she had sat beside him looking at his face. She had whispered, "Please do not go," had left at dawn the next day. His eyes had been full of hope. He had touched her hair gently and placed the pendant in her hand. He had said, "I promise I will come back and find you when the stars align." She had watched him walk into the light of morning, until his shape was gone and the heat of the desert seasons passed the inn. Wind changed, the dunes shifted, but she stayed. Every night she sat on the ridge, waiting for the sound of a ship, waiting for the blue light of the beacon. Sometimes she thought she heard it, a soft hum in the wind, but when she looked, there was nothing. Manny. Humans came to this world after him. They built bases and roads. They mined the sand and hunted her kind. She stayed hidden, watching from the cliffs. Sometimes she saw faces that looked like his, but they never saw her. Once she found a piece of metal near the old wreck. It had his mark carved on it. Her hand shook. She held it to her heart, believing for a moment that he had returned, but the metal was cold, and silencers moved like waves. She grew older, her hair lost its shine, her tail curled close. When the nights grew cold, the stars no longer looked friendly, they looked far away. She still wore the pendant around her neck, its chain thin and fragile. One night, when the twin moons rose high, she thought she saw a light in the sky, a streak of silver that cut across the darkness. Her heart jumped. She stood. The wind caught her hair and tears ran down her face. She whispered his name again and again, but the light faded. It was only a comet, not a ship. The silence returned. She sank to her knees, the sand soft beneath her hands. She looked at the pendant and smiled. It was strange. She still believed. After all the years, she still waited under the same stars for a promise that time had almost erased. Then, one dawn, a shadow moved across the dunes. She heard footsteps slow and heavy. She hid behind a rock, her heart beat fast. A man came into view, his clothes torn, his skin marked by travel. He looked lost. He looked like every dream she had carried. He stopped near the old wreck and touched the broken metal. His lips moved as if speaking to someone unseen. She stepped out, her breath caught. He turned slowly, his eyes wide when he saw her. She looked the same, and yet not the same. Her fur was gray.
Ow.
Her eyes full of years. He said her name softly. She froze. It was not Sam, but his son. He said, "My father told me about you." He said, "You waited for him. He told me to find you. If he could not return, he gave me Thish," held out a small device. It flickered weak light, forming a voice. A recording. Sam's voice came through, faint but clear. He said, "If you are hearing this, it means I could not come back. I tried, I promise. I tried. Tell her I kept my promise in every way. I could tell her I looked at the stars and saw her face." Tears fell. She reached for the device, her fingers trembling. The man stood in silence. The wind moved around them, soft and warm. She whispered, "Thank you." She looked at the sky, the 2 moons shining bright. She knew then that promises were not broken. They only waited to be completed in another way. She sat again under the stars, the pendant in one hand, the device in the other. The human stayed by her side, silent, sharing the night. They did not speak. More words were not needed. The stars were enough. They watched the horizon where the desert met the light, the same place. Where once she had waited for one man, now she waited for peace. Her eyes closed, and she smiled. The promise was finally kept.